What is going on YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just BSN podcast, and today we have actually some decent bit of news, decent amount of news. There are some things getting ready to pop off in the world of the NFL again, which is going to be very, very exciting. We're not there yet, but we are getting close. But first, we do got some Cavs talk, and we will end with Guardians. But before we get into all of that, Andrew, my friend, how are we feeling after this week? Not a whole lot of horrible news. Thank God for Cleveland sports. So,
Yeah.
we're doing okay. We're sort of leveling out, especially with the amount of good weather that we've been having. Things aren't too bad right now. I can't lie.
Yeah, no, things are great. I mean, the weather has been fine the last couple of days. It has some couple of
Except for
60
today.
degree,
No.
except for today. Obviously, it snowed a little bit in the morning and got a little chilly. But you know what? I saw the weather next week, and it's supposed to be almost like all 60s, and I think that's that full spring that we're gonna get.
Dude, I hope so. I'm tired of snow, man. I'm tired of it.
I know, me too, dude. But you know what? Everything has been so far so good. Like you said, there's not been crazy news going on. Um, we finally had some good news that Joel Bitonio is obviously staying in Cleveland, so that that makes things a little bit better and brighter. That one of the best guards in the league is staying.
Yeah, absolutely. So even myself and pretty much everybody in the Dogland chat was like, finally some like actual good Browns news. Like, holy
Yeah,
crap, because it's just been constant. I mean, I guess we got a little bit more news, which we'll talk about later.
yeah, we'll do that later.
Because I do want to start with our Cavaliers,
Absolutely.
the boys. They're now riding a 12-game win streak. It is
Mm-hmm.
the third 12-plus game win streak that we have had just this season alone. And I think the highest was what, the 15 that we had
The
earlier this
15 and
year.
0. Yeah, when we started
So
15-0.
we're just out here breaking like team records, and it's been, I mean, this has been a fun season. I mean, when you tally up those three, win streaks alone, 15, 12, and 12, like that's well over half, if not even more, of our wins that we have for the season.
Yeah.
It's just been an incredible ride. And obviously last night we beat Miami 112-107, which was actually a pretty solid game. Uh, Miami's power forward Bam Adebayo, however the fuck you say his last name. I
Adebayo,
just call
yeah.
him Bam. Wrote a 34-point night, had a really good, night, especially shooting the ball. Like he was even hitting a three or two, just not in his game at all, but he was feeling it last night, and Miami really put it to us for pretty much the whole night.
Yeah.
But again, I think Donovan had 26, and Evan Mobley had a double, 16 points, 13 rebounds. Darius also had a double. He only
Yeah.
had I think 15 points, but he had 10 assists. So Darius really hasn't been scoring the ball very well, which I'm a tad bit concerned about, but I think it's just because he's a little banged up. But he was still able to facilitate. He was still able to make some sort of impact on the game, which is always good when you have a bad night having to shoot the ball. And obviously, the last, I think, 7 games or so, he's been shooting like 33% from the field. He's not shooting very well from three, but he's still finding ways to at least make plays. He hasn't had totally terrible nights, but now that we've sort of clinched the playoffs, which is sort of going into the next point here, the Cavs were the first team now this year to clinch the playoff berth, which is crazy considering it is March 6th, and we still have over a month left to go in the season. We have 20 games left, and we have already clinched the playoffs. So now that we have clinched the playoffs, do you think it's time to start resting guys here and there, pretty much like we have? I mean, the last week we sat Donovan one day, we sat Mobley one day. I think we sat Garland as well.
Yeah, he's had a
Um,
couple nights.
so, I mean, guys have been sort of getting their rest nights, but do you think that's going to continue to happen a little bit more frequently now that we have at least clinched? Because, I mean, they still got to lock up the first seed, but it's important to stay healthy for this run.
Yeah, I think it really just depends on who you're playing. Like tomorrow, you're playing Charlotte. Like I think you can rest a couple guys against Charlotte. Um, I'm not saying obviously it's easy dubs or whatever, but again, it's a game you could rest like maybe like a Mobley and Allen or something, or like a
Yeah.
Garland, and or if you
At
want to
least
rest Mitchell,
Garland. At
yeah,
least Garland.
because he got hit in the face again last night, of course. Which a lot of it's not his fault. He's just getting so unlucky with just like people like when he's going to the rim, people just like put their elbows out and just kind of bop him on the head and whatever. And I don't know if you saw, but Mitchell, like they showed Garland kind of like holding his head, whatever, and they showed Mitchell in the back, are like, "Oh my god, get this guy a fucking mask!
Yeah.
He keeps getting conked in the head, or give him like a helmet because he's
Yeah,
doing
he
like,
literally shared on his story on Insta of him in like a Bane mask. And that's
yeah,
just like dog. Like that's basically what he needs because yeah, he literally got slapped last night by
yeah,
somebody trying to reach in and get a a steal. He just whack right in the face. And it's like, dog, quit hitting him in the face. Like, I don't know what it is about teams. They just want to smack him. And half the
yeah,
time it's not even intentional. It just happens.
yeah, yeah. It's like he's not meaning to get hurt. Like it just happens, and I feel bad for the kid because he's so good and he deserves to play, but no, I think it really depends on who you play. I think the reason why we rested a few of these guys is because as we were playing teams like Boston, whatever, we had a back to back, and then we just been playing like every other night since that, and then we had a back to back after like the Boston game, whatever. So they just wanted to make sure guys were just well rested and didn't play over too much, and it's very especially now that you've locked the not the one seed, but you locked your playoff spot. You don't have to really worry about a lot of these games upcoming. Like I said, depending on which games we're playing, like again, we're playing like Charlotte coming up, and those are games where you can just tell the boys to just relax and kind of just take a day off, so that way we can stay healthy for the postseason. Because we have like Charlotte, then Brooklyn, then you know like Utah, Portland, and there's a couple games like, and then obviously like Chicago and whatnot, that you can just kind of like rest players and just kind of chill and
Yeah.
enjoy, and just make sure you're just staying healthy. Um, they're gonna play in those big games because obviously you have games like the Clippers coming up, and I believe you have like the Lakers coming up. No,
Lakers,
never.
no. New York, we have
New
twice.
York, you have twice. Sacramento, you have
Indiana, we have
twice.
twice. Sacramento, we have twice. San Antonio, we have twice, which is really great.
Milwaukee, you have on Sunday.
Phoenix, we have once as well. Yes, so Milwaukee will probably be the next big game, and then Orlando, Portland again, Chicago again. I mean,
Yeah,
there's not. I mean,
it's a healthy
it's not
split
going
of
to be
like
bad.
good and bad.
I mean, honest to God, dude, when I compare our remaining schedule and Boston's remaining schedule, we have a much easier end to our season.
Yeah,
Boston currently is playing the Sixes. I don't know the score of that game. I'm not really worried about that. But then they play the Lakers on Saturday, and I was saying as soon as they got Luka that the Lakers were going to start being good. They're the second seed in the
yeah,
West now. Did you know that?
yeah. They went from like fifth to like second in a span of like 2 weeks after when they got Luca.
Dude, they're starting to play some for real ball, and I think it's rejuvenated LeBron because
Oh
LeBron's
yeah,
back. I mean, he's always been back. Don't get me wrong. LeBron has never been like, he's putting up numbers better than some of his Miami years
I
this
think
year.
I think
And
it's because
people,
he finally has a good facilitator
yeah,
in Luca, and he has a. Don't get me wrong, like Anthony Davis was a great partner for him because Anthony Davis could get boards and put up a decent amount of points a game.
right.
But the problem is that AD can't stay on the fucking court for more than like a week,
Yeah.
and it's killing it. And I told this to Boston fans because all the Boston fans are like, "Well, you beat us without Kristaps Porzingis." I was like, "Well, he plays 40 games a season anyway, so this is about the time where he's out for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Like, he can't stay healthy. So, like, does it really matter if he's in the lineup or not? Like, it doesn't matter if you can't stay on the fucking court." And it's the same thing with the Lakers. Like, it didn't matter if AD can't stay in the fucking court, then you might as well just get rid of him
Yeah.
and give LeBron some kind of help. And luckily, the Dallas owner is a fucking idiot and gave him Luka Doncic, and now he's got a guy who can go 25 points with LeBron, and you got a guy who can get double assists, double digit assists, and put up 10 assists and whatnot and be helpful on defense and actually stay on the floor and play every game. So,
Yeah.
like you said, I think this completely helped rejuvenate LeBron's season this year. And I think the Lakers are now a top 3 team in the league at this point right now.
Yeah, I mean, dude, look,
Our
if
top 5
there's,
team.
I don't care what age he is, you do not want to see playoff Braun.
It's
Like,
not a good
you
thing.
do not want to see playoff Braun. No matter what age he is. He is like Tom Brady. Once he gets into the playoffs, it is hard
To
to
beat him.
actually root against him. It's hard to beat him. And when you have a guy like Luka to kind of tandem off, I mean, dude, some of these plays they've made, these highlights that they've made, I'm like, dude, it's getting nuts. And also, Luka just keeps losing more and more weight. By the way, he has slimmed down so much in the last 2 weeks because he's
I think
fucking happy finally.
I was gonna say I think he's just happier in LA than he
He's
was in
probably, yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah. But to go back to you saying stuff about or to the Boston fans, I would just like to point out too, Boston has beaten us without key guys all the time. Like we split our series this year 2-2. But when you look at the scores of the games that we've played against them, they're all 3 or 4 5-point games.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, their first one they won against us was 120 to 117, and that was our first loss.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
And
was
then
the
we won.
NBA Cup.
Yep. And then the 115 to 111, that was a solid one at home.
Mhm.
And then we lost that one where we didn't have Wade and Okoro, and I think somebody else we were missing. So it was 112, 105.
We
Okay, that
didn't
was a
have
pretty
Wade and
bad
Okoro
loss.
for the first game either when we
And
lost.
and that was the game that Levert couldn't throw a basketball into the fucking ocean.
That was the game I
Fucking.
went to. That was game 3. That was the one that was
Mhm.
the loss at home here because
And then
game 1 we missed Wade, Okoro, Strus was still out.
that's right.
Um and someone else was out too. I think it was Merrill that might have been out as well.
Yeah, maybe.
And then, but we had 4 guys out, and of course, you talked to them. They're like, "Well, those guys are just trash. Like Wade and Nakora are just garbage." Whatever. I was like, "You don't know Wade and Nakora. Like they are defensively so good. Like they keep us in games just defensively alone. Like
If
forget them shooting the basketball. Like just defensive wise, like there's a reason why." And I've actually thought about this. I don't know what you. I want to know what you think about this. I think I would be perfectly okay for if we were to play Boston in the playoffs to drop Strus to the bench, throw in Hunter, and maybe like the first guy you bring off the bench is like Dean Wade and Okoro. Because the reason why I'm saying this is because when you start Mitchell, Garland, and Strus, all 3 of those guys are no bigger than 6'4".
Yeah.
Because Strus is the tallest at 6'4", Garland's 6'1", and Mitchell 6'3". You're making them guard 6'8" Tatum and Brown, which is the reason why they've been able to cook you. Because
Yeah,
not only
yeah,
do they cook one of them, they draw out Mobley and Allen away from the paint and get free buckets in the paint or get free offensive rebounds if they miss.
yeah.
So I think you need to bring in and start either. I don't care if you start Hunter. I don't care if you start Dean Wade or whatever, or Coral, because those guys are bigger and they match up better with Tatum and Brown because it's size for size. I do think Okoral's like 6'5" or 6'6", so he's like 2 inches small. But again, he's just gifted defensively that he doesn't.
He's
The
a
defense,
lot more physical for
yeah,
sure.
he's a lot more physical. So and him and Wade were the ones that locked down Tatum in the last game we played.
Mhm.
Like they're the ones who kept Tatum at like 4 for 20 in the entire second half.
Yeah.
Like they locked his shit down.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that's a bad idea, and I think that is certainly a possibility because the one thing that I will say is Struce plays really well when he at least has a guy like a Donovan or
Mhm.
or Garland on the floor to sort of play off of because he's a very streaky shooter. Like Struce
Yeah.
can knock down three trays like that, like blam bam bam, and it's in. So I think that's the reason why they like to start with him is because he could play better off those guys.
Yeah.
But
But those
again, when
guys will
you have the
stay in it
likes of
anyways.
Hunter or even Wade, like it helps on defense, helps with rebounding, even Okoro is a solid rebounder.
Yeah.
He's very athletic. Like he can defend everything, but like Hunter is the X factor when it comes to Boston. And the thing that I was starting to think of, and the one thing that I wanted to ask you about, is especially with this second unit, man, having Hunter playing with Jerome as those first two guy, like those two
Oh
guys off,
man.
dude. It doesn't matter what unit you have; you always have somebody to score the ball, and like that was always our problem in previous years. Where once we went to our bench, it was like, who is going to take over the spot? Because it was Levert, and then Levert would cool off and he wouldn't play well. But when you have guys like Hunter and you have guys like Jerome, who listen are both streaky, but they're always going to get their shots because they're always aggressive enough to get their shots, and they have the freedom because of Atkinson to go after and go get those shots, and then you can still play them with the likes of Mobley or Allen or Mitchell or fucking Sam Merrill. Like it doesn't matter. Dean Wade, like these guys can all sort of play together and it just works. So I'm curious, like, especially now with Hunter, it makes us literally like 9 guys deep going into the
Yeah.
playoffs. So like you could seriously play 9 guys. You like usually most playoff rotations are no more than 8. You could have 9, even 10 guys playing serious minutes in the playoffs with guys like Merrill still trickling in 5 or 10 minutes to get a few threes and play well, because same Merrill does play some decent defense.
Oh
So
yeah.
just curious, like with Hunter, now does your confidence level move up so greatly where whether he comes off the bench or not, it's scoring. And I think that's the only reason why he may stay on the bench even when we play Boston, because Strus is still going to get his. Like he's still going to
Yeah,
do
for
his
sure.
thing, and it does help. But instead of waiting till that sort of 6 or 7, 8 minute mark, you'll probably see DeAndre Hunter go in at like 9 or 10 minutes. And I just think that creates more flexibility, and it still gives you a chance to still give him like 30 plus minutes, because I think Hunter will probably have close to 30 minutes a night in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And Struce's will go down, but I don't know. I don't hate that Struce starts, but I understand the reason why you would want him to start, especially against Boston. Against New York and them, it is
Yeah.
what it is. But against them, I get it.
Well, and again, like then you don't really have to start Struce either way, because then you could just throw in Dean Wade maybe
Yeah.
just to have someone match up with Brown or Tatum off the switch, just to kind of like keep them in check. Because like you said, like don't get me wrong, Jerome and um Struce and Hunter, they bounce ball off of Garland and Mitchell. But here's the thing: one of them is always going to stay on the court, because even when they do subs, they usually like to keep one or the other on the court for a couple more minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll take each other out. So I don't see the problem with starting someone like Hunter or starting someone like a Dean Wade. I just feel like you need someone out there who's at least the size of Brown and Tatum, that's good defensively, that can at least just keep the score close. So that way we don't see another 25-3 in the first 3 minutes of the game. The game's a little bit closer. It's more like
Yeah.
6-4 or something, or like 11-10 or something. It's like a lot closer. It's not
For sure.
25-3, and now you're playing down 22 to start. And make no mistake, if they were to do that again, they're not going to blow it that next time.
Yeah.
They're going to make sure they win by like 45.
Yeah.
So if I'm the Cavs, I'm looking at starting again, maybe a Hunter or maybe a Dean Wade, just for sheer size. I mean, Hunter, if you would just want both points and defense. But if you want to keep Hunter off the bench with Ty Jerome, because they've been clicking so well together, maybe again you start Dean Wade or you start Isaac Okoro just to have some size or physicality to start, and just keeping Tatum and Brown in check just for at least a few minutes until they leave the court.
Yeah.
Then because I'm worried about, again, Garland or Mitchell or Strus getting cooked off the dribble, and next thing you know, they're gonna draw out Mobley and Allen, and then they get free buckets in the paint, they get free rebounds because we all know that Cornette and Horford can't out rebound Allen and Mobley.
No.
It's just impossible. But the reason why they are able to get so many rebounds against the Cavs is because if you notice, the paint's wide open because Allen and Mobley are forced to draw out because they Tatum and Brown beat their man, and even Derek White at times beats the man, and it forces them to leave. And you have to find a way to combat that. And that's why I'm saying, like, I think you should start Hunter or you should start like a Wade just to match up defensively. So that way you don't go down so big and the game is kept close. Because I think it's that second game where we lost by like 3 or 4 or whatever. I think Wade started that game or Coro started that game.
Yeah.
And again, actually, I think for a little bit we were winning that game in that first quarter. So I really think the toughness in the defense helps quite a bit when it comes to the Boston Celtics, because as much as they like to think they're a physical basketball team, they can't handle physicality. They bitch and moan the most out of any team I see in the NBA.
Right.
Tatum screams for calls every time he's touched. Brown screams for calls every time he's touched. Like, they cannot stand being breathed on.
No.
Like, they would hate Dellavedova if they were to ever play against them.
Oh, yeah. Gosh. Go ask Steph Curry about that.
Yeah, go ask Steph about Dellavedova. He hated Delly for sure.
Shit, even Kyrie did in practice.
Yeah.
They even said that they would get into fights all the time in practice because of it.
Yeah, because he would piss him off because the defense was too good. Because he was up on the shit. But again, that Boston hates that, and I'm starting to see now that they're getting a little bit better. The referees are getting a little bit better with Tatum and Brown doing the push off step backs.
Yeah,
because that's their go-to move every time. That's why they get so open for these easy shots, is that they drive and bump you, and then they hit you with the quick stiff arm, and then pull back and
or
fade.
Or it's like what Tatum did. It wasn't the last. It was the first win we got against them.
Yeah,
where he kind of like kicked his foot out as he shot that shot. And originally they called a foul on us, and then they reversed it.
Yeah,
and said that he forced the contact. He does shit like that. Jaylen Brown does stuff like that too. But they both do that sort of stiff arm put a wish off thing. And I was really gonna say, when it comes to Boston and beating them, I think you have to understand that Tatum and Brown are gonna get theirs.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to shut everybody else down. Like
the biggest worry is Payton Pritchard off the bench, because that kid is lights out for
Pritchard, White, like both of those guys are streaky shooters, and honestly, Horford always kills us, in my opinion. Yeah. Even going back to his days with the Hawks and stuff, like he's always been sort of a menace for us. It's got to be Garland for us. Like, Garland has to play better against Boston. He has not played well against Boston in the last 2 or 3 games. It's always been Donovan. Donovan's always getting ready to score 28 to like 30 plus a night against Boston. I'm pretty sure he's averaging like 32 against them.
He is.
And Mobley's played some good games against them and also some bad games against them as well. Jared Allen does what he does, but Hunter is really going to be the X factor. 1000%. Like that's how things are going to go down. And again, with the addition of him, it gives me so much more confidence to go up against them in the playoffs. But we're still 20 games away from being in the playoffs. So again, I think it's important to lock at the first seed. Don't worry about trying to win 70 games to do it, though. Like for real, you don't need to win. You need to win, like, I think 62 or 63, and we're probably good.
Yeah, don't hurt yourself.
We still have what, 8 or 8.5 games up on Boston. Pretty sure.
Let me double check that to be sure, because
right now I have it up. We are 8 games up right now on Boston.
Yeah.
So as long as you don't go on a crazy losing streak and you just continue to beat the bad teams, which again, as I've stated, we don't have a terrible schedule. Like we play Charlotte, the Bucks are going to be a solid game on ESPN on this Sunday. Then you got
Mhm.
Brooklyn Tuesday, Memphis Friday, and I mean, honestly, they're not that bad. And same with Orlando, and same with the Clippers. They're not too bad. Sacramento is meh. Phoenix is very underwhelming for being what they are. Utah is meh. Portland is good on defense. I think we played them really badly the one night, and honestly,
Yeah.
that was the game where they had like 70 free throws combined between the two teams. Uh, some of the
Oh,
most
that was the bad
worst
game where the
efficient
two
game.
lady refs were like really bad. That
Yeah,
was the game that Ty Jerome called out the
Jerome literally called out the one chick and got fined
Natalie something. I can't
20.
remember her name.
He got fined 25K for that shit. And honestly,
I think
he should get it all back because it was well fucking deserved. 70 free throws combined with two teams is unfucking bearable.
and
Nobody
two
enjoys that.
and two texts for the Cavs too.
Yeah, like it's fucking insane. Like even seeing the way that they called that, like they would make their calls so delayed and so late. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you have Portland, and then you have San Antonio, Detroit, Clippers again, New York
Hmm.
twice, Pacers twice to end the year, San Antonio again, Sacramento again, and Chicago one more time, and that's it. So like
Yeah.
our schedule is not as bad as Boston's. Boston, their schedule here, I'm gonna obviously they're pulling up the 76ers right now, but they have LA to play, Utah again, OKC they got to play on Wednesday, Miami on Friday, Brooklyn back to back pretty much, Utah again, Portland again, Sacramento again, Phoenix twice, San Antonio again, Memphis, Miami again, Washington, New York again, Orlando, and then back to back Charlotte. So they have a much more tougher schedule, especially here for these next few weeks. And as long as the Cavs, they don't have to ride this win streak, but they do have to at least come out with, you know, multiple wins. Don't need to worry about winning every game, but I mean, if you want to, that's fine. I just don't want them to have to ride into a
Hmm.
crazy win streak into the playoffs because it just creates way more on you than what needs to be. And that's why I don't really care to push for 70 wins. But the point is, the Cavs have a much easier road ahead, a much more favorable road ahead. So I don't think locking up for the first seed is going to be that difficult. Um, it just depends on how much we want to rest guys, which I still think is going to happen. It probably just won't be uh, quite as frequent per se. It'll
Hmm.
probably be like how we've been doing it, where you'll sit Donovan one night, you'll sit Garland. Honestly, I would sit Garland a few nights again, then let him play another game or two, and then sit him another night or two. Like just give him a little more rest because he's getting this shit kicked out of him quite literally. He keeps getting punched in the face. So definitely want to keep him healthy because he is going to be crucial
Hmm.
for stretch. But that's pretty much all I got on the Cavs. You ready to move on to good old Brownies?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, um, I guess the good news again, as you said earlier, Bitonio has decided to stay for a 12th season with the Cleveland Browns. Quick shout out to Joe Thomas for talking to Mr. Bitonio and kind of helping him say, you know what, give it one more year because if you don't, you're going to regret it.
Yeah.
Uh, I really wish he would do that with Garrett. Hopefully, he has tried to reach out to Miles. I don't think we are at the end of Miles. Like I really do think Miles is going to end up staying, but it's going to be a little bit of a fight. Um, but
Also, shout out to fucking David Njoku too for going on Twitter and saying keep Nick Chubb and Miles Garrett.
And again, the other news too with Chubb is, what Barry said last week about they want him to go ahead and test the market. The reason why they're doing that is not because they want to actually move on from him per se. They just want to
Yeah.
see what teams are willing to pay for him. And if it's in the budget, they'll be like, all right, we'll match that or we'll do better.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't mean Chubb is gone. It just means if somebody gives him the sun, moon, and stars, and the Browns say we can't really afford that, I'm sorry, go ahead and do what you got to do. they're not gonna hold him up on that. So the only way that's
Mhm.
gonna not happen is if Chubb decides to stay for less money.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I
do
think he
I
would, but
I mean, yeah, he probably would, but honestly, with the amount of injuries he has, if somebody wants to give him a bigger contract, I don't blame him for wanting to take it.
oh,
Like,
absolutely.
take your bread. But
Get
I
that
do think the
cash.
Browns are going to try and match that and really try to take care of him. But everybody freaking out about that news, even with Mary Kay saying like, he is going to test the market, and it is likely that he could leave, but it's not 100%. And people are
I,
really geeking out about it, and
I
it's
think
just
I just think the way she worded it made it sound like that he's gone forever, like he's gonna leave and be done and stuff like that. Because like the way she put it is like this is the end of Nick Chubb in Cleveland. It's like okay, why would people? First of all, why would you say that? And why would people believe that? Like we're not the ones who, at least like me and you, haven't fell for the bait. That's hey, Nick Chubb is gone because he wants to leave, or like he's too injured and whatnot. Like yeah, he tore his ACL. Was it the third time? Is that same ACL?
second.
Second. And I mean, like, listen, I get it. It might be super difficult. He might not be the old Nick Chubb. He might be 75% of what he was. But you know what? I'll take 75% of old Nick Chubb every day of the week because then that means he's still going to get you good games and like a lot of good games. I think the issue was that he came back. He came to an offensive line that was just injured and trashed up, and he just couldn't really create space for himself, or they would get into the back end. Plus, two, we were out of that wide zone scheme that he was so used to, and that a
Yeah.
lot of the runs were just up the gut runs, like, and that just got blown up so fast because again the offensive line was so decimated.
Yeah.
Um, but now we're going back to the Stefanski playbook, the playbook that's worked for him so well over the last 4 or 5 years. So he gets to go back to doing that. And again, I think that will help bring out the old Nick Chubb.
Right.
And I think that'll help a lot of these guys on offense because you're going back to the system that got us to the playoffs twice. And you're slowly getting rid of the problems. You got rid of Ken Dorsey. You're pretty much done with Deshaun Watson. Like, I don't think you're going to see him ever in the building again.
Right.
And it seems like the Browns are actually trying their best to create cap space and move on and do what they believe is actually best.
Mm-hmm.
And we said this time and time again, like, we truly believe that they are actively trying to get better again. And I think that's where we get someone like Myles Garrett back into the picture. Like, I think he's just been so frustrated that the Cavs haven't found the success with the roster that they have because they know they have a fantastic roster.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that I think he's just upset because it's been super injured and it can't stay healthy, work out. Like, and I get the pain. Like, a guy like him deserves a title instantaneously. Like him,
I get the
Chubb.
pain. I've been a fan of this shit for 20, 25, 26 years.
I mean,
Of
same.
course, I also get the pain too.
Yeah.
He hasn't even dealt. The only bad thing that he dealt with was 0 and
When
16.
16.
Like, okay,
But he hasn't been a
sorry.
fan like we
No, like you haven't been there
yeah, you've seen shit
for
yet, but
all of the shit that we've been through. And yes, it is frustrating to get to a playoff and then have a really down year and then get back to the playoffs and then have another shit year like this. But Njoku is right to a degree. Like, we're not that far off from being a better team again. Like at least a playoff contending team. I don't think a Super Bowl team, but a playoff contending team, absolutely. And once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. It's like Washington this year. Like,
yeah.
again, quarterback is going to solve the issues. And I know people don't love Shadur. I know some people don't love Cam Ward. I think either one is going to help you win games this year. I really
Yeah.
do.
At least help you
It's
get
going to
to
help
like
you
six
win
game
games.
wins. Yeah.
It's going to help you win games in the future, especially if they fit the system or if they fit what Stefanski wants to do. Like, that's the thing that did fail us about Watson. It is we brought Stefanski's offense to Watson, and originally he said, "Yeah, this sounds great." And then the minute he got into the building, he said, "I don't want to do that." You need somebody that's going to buy into Stefanski's system entirely. And I think a guy like Shador
We'll buy in.
honestly is going to be bought in more. And honestly, the other thing today that I was just thinking about, because I really do like Cam Ward as well. I think Cam Ward is an excellent quarterback. He's going to be a solid guy in the NFL, but he may not do well in an AFC North type team because he's from Miami. Like he's been playing in warm weather. Shador played in Colorado. It's not always
Okay.
warm down there. It's cold. It's windy.
Where's Cam Ward from?
I don't know.
Let me look that up. He's from Columbia, West Columbia, Texas.
Yeah. I mean, Shador is from Houston, I think, or Dallas.
Yeah.
Is that's where.
Also note
the other
that
one.
Cam Ward was also the quarterback in 2022 of Washington State.
That's true. Okay, fair, but still, like when you think about that, you're like, man, like you also got to think about will guys be able to play in this type of weather, which I think is why guys like Will Howard so much. And Will Howard did not have a great combine. I still don't think that really worries his draft stock too much, because I think that's why these top guys don't throw at the combine anymore, because they're not throwing to guys that they know. They don't have the rhythm down. They're just running drills with random guys, and so they don't have that continuity. And so I get that. I really do get why these top, QQBs don't want to throw at all. But guys like Jackson Dart had a really good combine. He's going to probably have a solid pro day. He's got a cannon. He's one of the younger quarterbacks in this draft too. He's going to be a fun one to watch, wherever the fuck he lands. But it's no secret that the Browns are going to take a quarterback. It's just when and where and who. There's a lot of smoke going around Shador. There's a lot of smoke going around on Cam. For all we know, the Browns could not even draft a quarterback at all this year, and then go after a Kurt, or they go after somebody that's going to be the bridge quarterback for the next year or two while you look for the draft next year or whatever. But I feel like that's unlikely. I think the Browns are going to have to take a quarterback. They know they have to take a quarterback, and it's just reality. But I will say, and this is the next little topic that I want to discuss here. We're getting close to free agency here. Tampering period is on Monday. So really this weekend, even starting today, there were a few trades that went on, including yesterday as well. The Bears were a little active. They've kind of revamped the O line over there. So the Bears are instantly going to be much better with a better O line. All they need is more guys for Caleb to throw to, and then continuing to step up the defense. And Chicago's going to be a solid team here, probably by next season. But you just had Christian Kirk go to Houston for a 7th rounder. You got guys like Trey Hendrickson and DK who have both requested or been granted permission to seek trades. I've heard Cooper Kupp could get released and not even traded because they're not finding good enough trade partners for him and don't want to take on his salary of $26 million a year. Adams just got released by the Jets. A-Rod is still available. This free agency, this offseason is going to be interesting. Again, as we said last year, it's one of my favorite times of the year, but I don't expect the Browns to be too crazy beyond trying to re-sign or keep certain guys. And I think one of the guys that they are going to try to not really re-sign per se, but extend is Miles. And the reason why I say that is because Max Crosby getting his payday. I think after that, I think it motivates Miles to wanting to get to that deal. And remind you, last week, I said that the rumor was Miles's sort of future extension was going to be 3 years, 140 million, or as it was about 40 million. So I think it was more like 130 million. I forget the or no, it was 120. God, I'm really bad at math right now. Point is, it was going to round out to be 40 million a year.
Yeah.
For 3 years. That is still very possible. And they were even just saying the likelihood of him shot up to like 70% to stay in Cleveland. So I expect this to just still be a weird, quiet next few weeks, maybe even leading to after the draft. Maybe Garrett wants to sort of sit back and just see what we do, because the Browns don't have to trade him at all. They don't have to trade him for shit.
Yeah.
So they're going to let him go through the draft, say, okay, we told you what we were going to do. So it's either about him believing it or he really didn't like what they had planned. But I think you got to show him, see it to believe it. And I think you showed that with Bitonio. So whatever they told Joel was enough to keep him. So if it was enough to keep him, it might be enough to keep Garrett. And if that's the case, I don't think we're going to be that bad off. Like, I really think keeping him and trying to find a way to keep Chubb is going to be important. They just restructured Watson, which we all knew was going to happen, but it did free up some cap space for us. And he's not going to be the first one. There's going to be more. I'm sure Bitonio is going to be up there. I bet you Conklin, Teller is going to be up there. Ward will probably be up there as well. You're going to see guys like Newsom probably get traded because of his contract. He's got like $13.5 million left on his deal. There's a lot the Browns have to do in order to make the moves necessary that they want to make. But I do expect the Browns to try to make a trade at some point this weekend. That's sort of been Andrew Berry's MO every year. I mean, we got Jerry Jeudy last year. We got Cooper a few years ago. Andrew Berry is sort of known for trading, especially for receivers. And there's a couple receivers on the free agent / trade block right now. And you never know. Maybe Laser Eyes Berry could show up and be cool for us for one last time. We'll see. But it's been his MO. Andrew, I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if we see Berry sort of pull this out of his hat again.
Oh, he will. I'm sure he will. It's what he's known for. It's what he does. His MO is literally just pulling some random shit out of his hat, and somehow like we're like, oh, he needs to be fired, and then next thing you know, he just does like the most amazing thing. You're like, oh my god, he's the best ever. Because like he's good at convincing guys to stick around. He's great at restructuring contracts. He's great at creating cap space. Like this is like even if he were to step down as a GM, at least keep him in some kind of role where he can like fix like contracts and shit.
Yeah.
Because like this dude creates cap space out of fucking nowhere somehow.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where he gets this. Like he just goes, I have money, and it's like, wait, where'd you get this? He goes, I don't know. Maybe I stole it. Maybe I did.
Well, it's because he has learned how to really spend the money. Like even
Yeah.
what Duffin was saying. Like, teams like the Bengals, they don't want to pay for these certain guys because they paid so much money to guys like Burrow and
Chase.
Well, they haven't even paid Chase yet.
And they're going to.
And then Trey wants to leave. Like
Yeah,
they're losing pinnacle guys. They just tagged Higgins. But for all you know, he could get traded. Like you don't know what's going to happen. But the point is he was saying like good teams pay like 120% of their cap out in payments every year in order to keep their team. Like when you look at the difference between $40+ million contracts for players compared to the Bengals and the Eagles. The Bengals had one guy, and it was, I think, their safety. And then the Eagles had like 8 or 9 guys that they've paid at least $40 million plus for.
Oh, was it Jesse Bates or something?
No, it was the other guy. Actually, I'll have to look up. I'm going to look that up right now, actually, because it was today he said that.
It's just crazy that that I heard the news of Trey Hendrickson wanting to leave. And I think it's because Hendrickson knows that the Bengals are going to pay out the ass for Jamar Chase, and they're not going to have any money to do anything else. So he's not going to get paid. I'm pretty sure that's why Sam Hubbard kind of retired too, because I don't think he was going to get paid. And Sam Hubbard was born and raised in Cincinnati, stuff like that. So I think he wanted to stay in Cincinnati his whole career, but I think he realized he wasn't gonna get jack shit,
No.
and so he's like, you know, I might as well just retire while I have the chance. And it could be some other things too that convinced him to retire. But again, Trey Hendrickson, like that's the besides Garrett and TJ Watt and Max Crosby, that's like an insane edge rusher to get that is just gonna leave. And he could really go to a team and just make an instant impact.
Yeah.
Like I would die if somehow, some way Andrew Berry could pull it off, but obviously he's not going
Yeah.
to. Like him and Garrett together, oh my days.
Dude, even him and Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
Dude, could you imagine signing Joey Bosa?
Yeah, and he'd
Or
probably be
getting like
cheaper than
Hargrave or
Hendrickson.
something. Like just getting one of these guys that are getting dropped.
And they're gonna be cheaper too than someone
Yeah.
like Hendrickson. Like Bosa, you could probably get for like you probably could have gotten him for like a fifth or sixth or something, or
probably.
even like a fourth or something.
I mean, even DK, the
Yeah.
asking price is a third round pick or better, and it's like, okay, why don't you put Newsome and then a third or fourth round pick into that and see if they bite? Because if they
Yeah.
bite, DK could be a cool option. The only thing about him is
It's like he's got like 30 mil left in
well,
pay.
he wants to be paid 30 mil.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
Yeah, he wants to get paid money.
He's
30
trying
mil.
to stake a contract extension.
Yeah.
Dude, it's weird. Like it seems like Seattle's blowing it up. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Gino's gone too.
Yeah.
And Gino's another other guy, at
I
least
could
for
take here.
the Browns. Yeah. Dude, if the trade is right, I would not mind Geno Smith as a Brown. And that would be an interesting scenario.
Yeah.
It'd be real interesting because he's a solid quarterback. He's still thrown up 400-yard games just last year.
Yeah. But this is what Andrew Berry's good at. He's good at somehow getting those guys here, and they're like, "How the did you afford it?" And he goes, "I don't know. I just pulled some money out of my ass, but we got him here." And it's like, listen, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining one bit. Like if you could somehow sneak in like a Trey Hendrickson here or like a Joey Bosa here or something, hey, I'm all in because that keeps Garrett happy. He's got a partner that he can work with.
Yep.
And I mean, and at that point, yeah, the only thing you really need to figure out is who your quarterback's going to be. But the thing is like, I know a lot of people want Barry fired and stuff. I still have faith in him to make good moves. The only thing I really don't have faith in him is just the draft. That's the only thing I don't have faith in him is drafting players. Anything else, whether it's bringing in free agents or whatever, bringing in like how he brought in Jerry Jeudy, like I'm cool with him doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I would keep him away from the draft board. Like give that to someone else who knows how to draft. but yeah, I think the Browns will be fine this offseason. I know a lot of people are being hyperactive of, you know, saying like, oh, Chubb is gone, Garrett's gone. You know, at one point, Joe Bitonio is gone or retired. You know, what are we going to do about Denzel? Denzel's probably going to leave too. And, you know, everyone's freaking the hell out. And it's like, guys, relax. We have all the leverage regardless. The Browns have all the leverage. It's whatever the Browns say, not what Myles Garrett says, not what Denzel says, not what the only one who has a say is Nick Chubb because he's the only restricted free agent or the unrestricted free agent or whatever. He's the only one who has a say on what he can do. Everyone else, they don't have a say because they're on contract years. And so if Garrett really wanted to push the button and continue to like go for a trade, whatever, the Browns could be like, okay, well, fuck you. You can go to New England or or you can go to a trash team. Like you can go to Charlotte and play for the Carolina Panthers or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they could really screw him over because at that point the Browns would be like, listen, we're just going to take the best deal. And we know these trashier teams have the better deals because they can give us a boatload of draft picks and a lot of draft capital that we could definitely use in the future or even in this upcoming draft. So you better watch your words. Otherwise you're going to Carolina. You better watch your words or you're going to one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
So you better shut the hell up. Otherwise,
it's very easy to do that. We've done it plenty of times before, and we'll do it again. We've been the teams that teams will dump their good players on because because they want to punish him. So it makes sense. But I did find that tweet that I was referring to when it comes to the Bengals. So the Bengals, the one guy that they resigned to a contract over $40 million was Logan Wilson. So it's actually
Oh yeah.
linebacker, not safety. You had eight guys on the Eagles that were signed to contracts over $40 million. AJ Brown, Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, Devonta Smith, Jordan Mailata, whatever if I can say it, Zach Bond, Darius Slay, and then just now Barkley this past week. So that's the key to success. It's using your capped cash each year and using it more upfront and then making your extensions or contracts sort of back end based where you're not getting as much in that first year or two. You're getting yourself your rollover cap, and then you're able to continue to have it roll over. And with the cap continuing to go up every year, it's just that's how you get around the cap. So teams like that don't know how to do it. That's definitely one thing that is really good about the Browns here and about Barry is he does know how to do that. We'll see. I hope this Garrett situation isn't too long. Like I hope this doesn't last until like July or August, and we're rolling into the season and he's on holdout. It's that's what I don't want. So whatever the Browns do, I hope that they have a good plan ready to go for him that he is going to look forward to. And as long as they can do that and they can put on a decent team, at least a winning team, a team that can win, it's going to be better. But I definitely think getting back to our old offensive system is going to help tremendously. And I think that's kind of getting underlooked by a lot of media members is they're not talking about going back to Stefanski's offense and how good it was for us for so many years and bringing in Tommy Reese to be the guy that's going to help facilitate on that way, help with the quarterbacks. Ken Dorsey was a fucking joke last year. Like, I don't think people realize how bad it was. So, but yeah, free agency starts next week. Tampering period is on Monday. The new league year begins on Wednesday. So the tampering period is always 48 hours before or 72, whatever it is. And yeah, NFL free agency is getting ready to start. And then we got another month and a half ish until the draft. And then next thing you know, you're going to get into mini camps and football season is going to be back. So it goes by quickly. The off season goes by very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you got anything else on the Browns before we just end with some quick Guardians talk?
Nope. Let's do it. Let's finish off with the Guardians.
All right, cool. So I'll go ahead and just get to the most random news. Today, the Guardians re-signed Tyler Naquan, which I know a lot of Guardians / Indians fans be like, oh yeah, Tyler Naquan, like he was an outfielder. He re-signed as a pitcher today, which is interesting. And I guess he has scored like in like the 98th or 99th percentile and like arm velocity or whatever the fuck it was.
It was 99th, 98th, and 94th in arm strength.
Yeah, arm strength. Yeah. So it's probably a cool little project. He's probably bored and like, hey man, I want to switch it up. He probably just wants to do something else. I mean, it was a minor league deal, so it's not like it's anything major. We'll see where that develops, but a cool little thing for him. It gives him something to do. He probably just wanted to still continue to play baseball, and he's like, hey, that's the only way that I'm going to be able to stretch my career out is by starting to pitch. So
yeah, I think for Tyler Naquin, he after the Guardians, after his time with the Indians, I think he kind of just fell out. He did play. I want to say he played in like Milwaukee and Cincinnati. Okay, he played for two teams in 22. He played for Cincinnati and the Mets, and then he spent in 2023 with the White Sox. Well, he played 5 games for the Sox in 23. But I would say after his run with the Indians / Guardians, he kind of just tailed away. I mean, career 260 hitter, 263 hitter. So he's not awful. He finished third in Rookie of the Year in 2016 when he would hit the famous walk off inside the park home run against Toronto, which
Putting
was
up,
the putting
putting
up
up the
the
horns
rock.
after. Yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, I think everyone's gonna remember that moment for the rest of their lives, all Indians
Yeah.
fans, because that was just such a cool moment.
Yeah.
Um, but like you said, he even said the reason why he transitioned to a more pitching kind of role is just for the fact that he wanted to just kind of resurrect his baseball career because he's been more, I think, maybe in the minors the
Yeah.
last couple of years, or he's just been out of the league completely. And maybe his agent or someone within his like family or whatever said, "Hey, listen, you're you're strong as hell. I mean, and when you're in the outfield and you threw people out, you're throwing gas. So maybe you could go as a pitcher or something." And he might be able to pitch in like the mid to high 90s.
Yeah.
And if you can get him to work on some command and control, whatever, hey, he might not be so bad. But I wouldn't doubt if he were to start in like single A for like Lake County or
Right.
like maybe I can't remember what the league is before single A, but I think it's like lower. Oh, so it's high A and low A. So high A is the Lake County Captains. Low A would be the Lynchburg Hillcats. So I wouldn't be surprised if he started down there too, and like low A or something.
Yeah.
Um, but you never know. Like I said, he could start in single A with the Hillcats or with the Captains or whatever, and get some work in. I'm sure they're gonna see what he can do.
Oh yeah.
Who knows? He might pitch sometime here in spring training here in the next couple days,
Yeah.
and just to see what he's got.
Right.
I mean, it's not gonna look. I don't think it's gonna look pretty, but you signed him, you brought him to Arizona. You might as well just let him go out there and give it a whirl.
I mean, again, it's a fun little,
It's a fun little
project
project.
project for
It's a
them.
harmful project. You got him for basically nothing. Like
I mean, it'll
again,
really be a cool test for the Guardians, farm,
yeah.
with their guys to really pull up. So we'll see how it goes.
I wonder
What
if he
did
has any pitching
you?
stats. That'd be actually kind of funny if he actually had some pitching stats.
That's funny. So yeah. So we got that, and then the other news, which was some unfortunate news, is DeLautner out for 8 to 12 weeks with a sports hernia surgery. It was his left core. Kind of a similar thing that happened to Grady Sizemore back in the day. If
Yeah.
anybody, sort of recalls that time of Indians baseball. Grady Sizemore was a stud for us for many years, and then he got hurt. And then once he came back from it, he was really never the same. DeLautner has not been able to even stay healthy enough to get into the big leagues, let alone really play for us that much. And he hasn't really been able to solidify himself. I'm a little worried about him. I'm a little worried that the Guardians are starting to probably get to the point where if they get offered a decent price for him in a trade, I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from him because he just cannot stay healthy. I mean, 8 to 12 weeks, man. He's out 2 to 3, 4 months with this injury. Like it's probably going to be almost 4 months because to even rehab from that is going to be tough. You got to relearn how to swing. You got to relearn how to throw. You got to relearn how to eat. Probably for God's sake. Like it's going to be a rough road ahead. Just curious what your thoughts are on DeLautner in general with how just injury prone he is,
Mhm.
and what you kind of see them doing with him. If you think they're going to keep him around, or if you think the trade idea is honestly on the table at this point.
I think that they kind of keep him around because again, he's such a good like outfield option. And if he is healthy, if he's healthy, obviously he's a pretty elite guy to have out there in the outfield.
Yeah.
Very good defensively, very good hitting wise, especially has a ton of power. Um, I think like you said, it's almost like Grady Sizemore. It's almost just like so unfortunate with like these like little injuries.
Yeah.
Obviously he's gonna miss. I think it was like 6 to 8 weeks, so he'll probably won't be back until like mid-April. If anything, early like mid-April, early May. Um, And again, if he manages to stay healthy in AAA, I think gets called up and plays some games in Cleveland. I think you give him the opportunity to, and I don't think it's time to get rid of him just yet. He's still young. He's what, 24. So I don't think you give up on him yet because he's still very, very young. And if he does get injured again, maybe next year, again in spring training or early in the season, whatever, then I would consider saying, hey, listen, it might be time to give up on this kid and say, listen, he's too injury prone.
Right.
But again, it's just one of those things where it's like you can't. I mean, you can't really afford to, but you can because again, you have guys like John Kenzie Noel, who's a really good outfielder. Even for a big man, he's a good outfielder. He can mash the baseball. He just hit like a 420-foot home run the other day.
Will Brennan is a solid, hitter,
Brennan's
obviously.
Will Brennan's very solid, and he's usually not a power hitter, but he's a very good contact hitter, and he bats like 250 every year. So it's not like you can't make Will Brennan an everyday outfielder. Like I've always thought he was very underrated as a player.
Yeah,
And I've liked him a lot. So,
I mean, even Schneemann could play a little outfield. So it's like, again, we have
a
a lot
great
of
hitter too.
knives. Yeah,
he's a great hitter too. I just think that him bouncing up and down hasn't really helped his hitting for the Guardians. I think if he were to have more consistent playing time with the guards, I think then he'd be a lot better. And I could say the same with like Gabriel Arias and stuff like that. Like them bouncing up and down like every other day is not not really healthy for their hitting and their performances. But
definitely doesn't.
I think people are underestimating how good this Guardians team can really be. I think the thing they're trying to really figure out right now is just pitching.
Yeah.
And, guys like Luis Ortiz so far hasn't had the best spring training. Tristan McKenzie hasn't had the best spring training. But again, that's going to happen. It's early. It's spring. Those guys are just trying to figure. And again, I said this on Twitter too. A lot of people are freaking out about that. And it's like, guys, listen, it's spring training. They're just there to work on mechanics and work on certain things. They're not really worried about ball placement. They're not really worried about this or that. Like for McKenzie, I think he's just working on velo and a little bit in some command. So if you do see him throw the ball over the plate, it's because I think he's just trying to work on his command a little bit. And yeah, it got smoked, but I don't think it's any concern. I just think that spring training is just a time for everyone just to kind of fix what they need to do. He's probably just going through the motions. Same with Ortiz. They're probably just going through the motions of, what they want to do and whatnot. Because once they get in season, I mean, I think Luis Ortiz had a pretty awful spring training for the Pirates last year and ended up having a great year pitching for the Pirates.
Yeah.
So I don't get why people read into spring training all too much. I don't read into it that much. Again, it's just
I don't even watch spring training, to be perfectly honest with you.
I don't either. And the thing is, I watch some, but the thing is spring training is like preseason football. It's like preseason basketball, whatever. It's just guys just to get some quick work in, and it's mostly just like single A, double A, and triple A guys. Like this is their time to like prove they belong at the club and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so that's why you see all these guys maybe get like one at bat or two at bats, and then they just kind of sit down because we all know Quan's making the roster. We all know Jose's making the roster. Yeah. We know Lane Tyler. Like they don't need to bat the entire game or play the entire game. That's when you let these young guys come in and just do all that. So I'm not really worried about how the pitching has been going. I mean, as of right now, because the Guardians are playing right now, it's the bottom of the third against the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, Bonet there just hit a home runner there.
Yeah, 415 feet. Absolutely mashed it. But Tanner Bybee he's pitched 3 innings. He's given up 2 hits, 1 walk, and struck out 3. Wow. So nothing new from Tanner Bybee, obviously. Just him doing what he does best, and that's striking people out and has a 0 ERA, so obviously he's having a phenomenal spring training. But I mean, like I said, there's no need to really panic and press the panic button. on spring training because again, it's just guys getting work. It's and 90% of it is just minor leaguers just going out there and just trying to earn their spot on the roster. Or, if they were in single A Akron, they're maybe trying to, or double A Akron, they're maybe trying to get to Columbus in the spring training, or single A Lake County players trying to get to Akron to start the year. Like they're trying to earn their spots and maybe get pushed up at the beginning of the year and start at a higher level than they were last season.
Yeah.
So I don't read into it too much. I don't think people should read into spring training all that much. It's just basically glorified practice for a lot of these guys. And I don't think they're overly trying. It's just, again, working on simple mechanics.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what spring training is for. Like, again, we were seeing certain people, I'm not going to say names, but some people were tweeting out like, oh, I'm a little worried about the Guardians and the fact that they have the same record in spring training that the White Sox did. I was like, yeah, you know who had the same exact thing happen to them last year? The Guardians and White Sox. They ended with the same amount of wins in spring training.
Yeah.
Dude, spring training doesn't fucking matter.
You don't
It's
win
pointless.
a trophy.
You're not you're not getting anything. All you're getting is these single A and double A guys getting a chance to sort of try to make their way up to triple A, or at least solidify themselves to say, hey, you might be able to get to triple A in the next few months if you keep doing what you're doing. It's what happens. And it's also certain guys being able to battle it out at a position and really sort of getting the thick of it. But like certain positions are locked. And certain roles on this team are locked. And again, we don't have our whole pitching staff yet. We don't have Bieber. That's one key I think people keep forgetting about. And kind of what I want to end here with is the amount of shit we're still getting from media. The amount of shit that they are still giving the Guardians saying, oh, the Twins are going to be the best team in the AL Central. Listen, I know the Twins have a solid lineup. They have a solid rotation. They have a solid bullpen, but they can't stay healthy to save their damn life.
Yeah.
They have not yet been able to get through a full season without being healthy. What do you expect?
Yeah.
The Guardians have been able to, despite health, despite losing out on half of your starting original rotation, to still be the best team in the AL Central and one of the best teams in the AL in general last year.
Yeah.
To
We're best
go
in baseball.
from being a couple games away from an ALCS win to going to the World Series.
Yeah.
It took the Yankees fucking stud of a lineup to finally beat us.
Took them 5 games to beat us.
And they were close games. I mean, 2 or 3 of those games came down to literally the last inning or two.
We took like 2. I think we took 1 game to extra innings because Class A blew in the 9th, and you blew the next game in the 9th too.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't blow those games in the 9th, we're talking the Guardians going back to New York with a 3-2 lead on the Yankees. That could have been insane because you see Yankees fans, the players all crumble. They're like, "What the fuck do we do? We're down 3-2 to the fucking Guardians. Like, what the hell is going on?"
Especially Yankees fans.
Aaron Boone would be shitting his pants. He's like, "What the hell just happened? Like, how the hell are we losing to the Guardians, boys? Like, this is some." And honestly, what's funny too is I think the Guardians were like 2-1 against the Dodgers last season too in the regular season. We beat the Dodgers multiple times. So it's like, hell, the only team that could compete with the Dodgers is the Cleveland Guardians. I mean, the only person who can stop Shohei Ohtani is fucking. There's only one person who can stop Shohei Ohtani. That's Stephen Kwan.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, I still don't think that the Guardians would have been able to beat the Dodgers.
Oh no, we would have got smoked.
But it probably would have been a little better for us for sure. But yeah, it's so funny to me the amount of disrespect that the media still continues to give us. These stupid TikTokers that are talking
because they hate mid-market teams that do so well.
They do, and it's the same with the NBA, bro.
It's the same with the Cavs. They hate mid-market teams that are like doing so well. They're like,
there was literally an article out today that said like, oh, it's starting to take us time to get used to the Cavs. And it's like, oh, so when New York or when the Lakers aren't good, the NBA sucks. Or when the Warriors suck, the NBA sucks. The Lakers are fine.
They
The Knicks are fine. The Warriors
they
are better.
What's funny is they're panicking because the two teams that are the best in the NBA are mid-market teams, Cleveland
Yeah.
and OKC, and they are fucking panicking. They're like, we didn't expect these two teams to be the best teams in the NBA. Like, deal with it, dude. They built insane rosters.
I mean, even the Grizzlies
The Grizzlies are
are a
flaming right
solid
now.
team.
They're
Denver,
crazy.
you know, obviously the Nuggets, they are going to be tough, dude. Nikola, he's still averaging a triple double.
Yeah, that
Like,
dude's a freak, bro.
like if it wasn't for Shy being so damn good this year and averaging like 31 and a half points a game,
Jokic fucking
he would win a third straight MVP by far. He's averaging a triple double this year.
oh,
A
he's gonna
29 point a game triple double.
he's gonna win MVP again this year. I don't doubt it. I
I don't
think
know. I think Shy's got it. I think they're getting bored with giving him the same amount of love, and they want somebody else. It's like LeBron all of those years getting beat out
yeah.
by the likes of like Harden and Westbrook, who like yes had great seasons, but like the year that Harden won it, or at least one of the years that Harden won it, LeBron could have won it both fucking times with us
Well,
because he had such great years, and they still didn't get to him.
what's funny is because you say that, and Windhorst came out and said that he regrets his vote for James Harden, that he wish he would voted for LeBron during
That's
that year.
literally what I was referring to too. That's
Um,
funny.
yeah, but yeah, dude, the media hates these mid-market teams that do so well, and they're trying so hard to salvage. Like, we can't allow like the Cavs to be like so good or like rate them so high. We can't allow the Thunder to be so good or rate them so high. And
Right.
I see these rankings, like the power rankings, and they always try to so hard to force like the Celtics in the first place all the time. And it's like, you guys are really just forcing the hate. Like, we can't allow the Cavs to be first. Like, even though they have the best record, we think Boston's better because we're located around Boston, so we can't really say that they're bad. It's fucking crazy, dude, and I hate it so much.
Yeah.
But also too, while we were talking, Naylor hit another home run.
Nice.
Hit a 3-run bomb, 392 feet.
All right, let's go. Yeah, see, that's what we need.
But yeah, I don't understand the hate for the Guardians. I never understood the hate for the Cavs. I always understood the hate for the Browns because obviously we just been ass, but
Yeah.
the Cavs and the Guardians never ever deserved the hate. Like, these guys have been so good without spending money. Like, somehow, some way, we've always been good without spending money.
Yeah.
In the NBA, in the Cavs and the Guards. It's absolutely baffling to me how like cheap the Dolans are, and somehow, some way, the Guardians are always playoff contenders, and they built like the most insane farm system.
Yeah.
I like, you can't tell me that the only team that is close to the Guardians are the Royals and the Tigers.
Yeah.
Again, two other mid-market teams that the media will be hateful, but I would look at it as the Guardians are probably going to win the Central again, then Kansas City, then Detroit, then Minnesota, and then Chicago.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell me Minnesota is going to be healthy. They say that every single year Minnesota will win the Central. They just got to stay healthy, and every single year they don't stay healthy. So it's all about health for Minnesota, and they're never gonna beat us if they can't stay healthy,
Nope.
and they're never gonna be anything if they can't stay healthy.
Exactly. They're just not, and that's where I'm at. But yeah, it's just ridiculous the amount of just absolute shit the media is throwing our way. And I mean, I love it because it still keeps us as an underdog, but it's wild to me that these guys looked at what we did last year and think, oh, there's no way that they could do it again. It's like, all right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Watch us. Don't care. Watch us. So I'm excited for the year. We still have about another month until the first round of MLB games starts. I don't think we'll start at the end of March. I think we start at like the beginning of April or something. I don't really care to know what day it is, but yeah, we are about a month away from the start of the MLB season officially. So we're getting there, guys. Spring training is going to go really fast, and we're going to be there. So get ready to stay locked in. But of course, next week is going to be free, pretty much all free agency and trades. We'll go over everything that happens. We'll see if the Browns decide to pop off or if they do what I think they're going to do and not do a lot. But this is my favorite time of the year. And so far, the start of this is looking to be nice and spicy. There's a lot of releases going on. There's a lot of trades getting ready to vibe up. So things are about to get spicy in the NFL world. So stay
Yeah.
locked in for us for next week. And Andrew, you got anything else before we log off?
No, man, go Cavs.
Go Cavs, running 12-game winner. We're still rolling. We'll see you guys next week.